最近おじいちゃんいるから違うけど久しぶりにバイブスあげてこう嬉しそうできるスイカ
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And today, we are suffering for your amusement because we're going back to Rent a Girlfriend with the second season. And if you want to help us rent a living out of this career, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, head on down to the comments to tell us what you think of the podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to both of our channels for more videos like this one. So grab a drink, kick back, and listen up, because this might take a while.
I mean, hey, that was pretty good for an intro that you winged on the spot, so there you go.
I stumbled at the end a little bit, but decent.
You know, fair enough performance. Unlike this show.
The show needs performance enhancers, man, because it was fucking limp. Well, I say limp. It did get me. It did get the blood boiling and the piss steaming.
Nothing happened. Nothing happens this entire. Okay, like I'm being a little exaggeratory. There's like maybe 4 things that happened. This entire core, 12 episodes.
I mean, mostly compared to the first season, definitely less happened narratively to progress what the plot is, but that's the nature of the beast, Crunchy. This is a harem rom-com where they have to progress the romance at a snail's pace, so that way they milk the most out of the whale cow viewers that are reading the manga / watching the anime.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, this is what we signed up for.
It's an edging show. It's a show for edgers.
When is Microsoft Edge gonna Microsoft come?
That was pretty good. I never heard that one before. I doubt you made that one up yourself.
No,
but...
I didn't make it up on the spot, but it's one of my favorite memes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, this, like, to be fair, it is completely in line with expectations. But at the same time, you know, obviously frustration is the appeal of this show to me. I found this in... I hesitate to say at times it was enjoyable, at others, mind-rendingly frustrating.
There were all the moments that were, like, unironically decent were few and far between. When we had to suffer through a lot of either boring, monotonous shit that we've, like, seen a fucking 100 times in this show alone, or, like, face-rippingly off, like, angry-inducing.
友達と撮ったプリ見ます
コンドーム完全にコンドーム
見なかったことにしてください念のためだし
Well, see, I think this second season, I would put it ever so, if we're talking about sincere enjoyment, obviously, ironic enjoyment / fascination with the specimen, it's, you know, about on par with season 1. But in terms of, like, sincere enjoyment and it being, like, a fine show, I would actually put this, like, ever so slightly above season 1, because I think this season has the longest stretch of time where Rent a Girlfriend is, like, kind of okay in spite of itself. Episodes 4 through 6, I think, are, like, the longest this show has been not anger-inducing, I should put it. Because, granted, like, it's hard to call it decent. I almost want to call it decent, but it's so difficult, because this show is, like, everything about it fundamentally is against quality, to the point where it's hard to... Like, I found it enjoyable enough and could sit through it, but there's a part of me that has to silently acknowledge, yeah, this show is awful still. Like, even the better parts of it are, like, not well written in the slightest.
Yeah,
this one also has the worst episode of the show, by the way. We'll get to it.
I don't think I've given it, like, such active critical thought that I was able to deduce, oh, this is the worst episode of the entire show, but it's just more of individual moments that made me angry. As far as which season is better, I suppose I agree with you that this is like marginally better by the first. I think they're both equally terrible, but if I were to like choose, okay, if I had to pick one to say like which one's better, I guess I'd give the slightest edge to the second one, if only because there's a little more going on with the characters, the and by that I mean they give characters who did like one thing in season 1, like Sumi, who probably for the sake of the story structure should have been introduced in season 2, and we would have been fine with just having 3 girls in season 1. But I guess her being at the end of season 1 was necessary for Mami to figure out about a rental girlfriend. So what the fuck do I know? But as far as like the content, it's definitely slightly it edges out to being slightly better and slightly worse than the first season.
I guess the main thing that I would say this season, for a time, God, there. See, every time I praise this show, I have to give so many stipulations and asterisks, where it's like I can't even say one genuinely, like, completely wholly good thing about it.
I have legitimately one unironically good thing that's not wrapped up in any like any stipulations or any big
I have one as well off the top of my head, and maybe a few more if once I think of them, but for this one, the main thing that I think this season did better for a time, emphasis on that, was making the characters feel like they actually care about each other. Because in season 1, one of the biggest things that I didn't like about it is that the characters all, like, they hung out with each other, they were in the same place as each other, but it never felt like friendship. Like, obviously Ruka's all over Kazuya. All Kazuya did was try to, like, get her away from him. Like, keeping her at arm's length, where they're technically dating, but Kazuya just doesn't want anything to do with her. Chizuru, like, I guess is supposed to like Kazuya. It never felt that way in the first season until maybe, like, the very final moment of episode 12. And even then, I couldn't help but ask, why? And granted, there's still no reason for Chizuru and Ruka to like him.
He saved her life, and she realized how, deep down, he's not such a fucking total socially inept weirdo who has no possible like ability to be around a woman without coming off as a freak.
See, like, I guess it, like, logically makes sense. I just don't feel it. I just, like, it's not, I guess it's not, like, not a plot hole, but it's more like just me as the audience seeing what is happening and going, I can't relate at all to your position, Chizuru. I don't know the first thing of why you care about this guy. But season 2, despite not really making me buy into the why, at least gave me some of the like some moments to cling on to. Like when Kazuya is, he gets a hangover for Chizuru's sake. Too lazy to explain the whole ordeal. It's bullshit anyway. But Kazuya, he gets a hangover, and is like so drunk he's puking, and Chizuru is like there comforting him as he's puking. Which, granted, reminded me of Sangatsu no Lion, which did that same scene but better. But hey, it's like a bonding experience. It's Chizuru actually looking like she cares about Kazuya in the slightest, when in season 1 she mostly was just awful to him at every turn. And so it's like, those small things that make you buy into the characters' relationships just a tiny bit more. I mean, granted, I still don't buy into them, but it's like it's approaching it. Like, it's getting close. It was a pleasant moment. Or like when Ruka and Kazuya are, staying the night together. I thought, the atmosphere of that scene of just two people being stuck in this typhoon, and Ruka slowly making advances on Kazuya, and then for once Kazuya like actually compliments her and says, "Yo, Ruka, like don't beat up on yourself. You're cool." It's like mind-blowing stuff, I know. And granted, this is like an easy hurdle for like any other show to pass. But for Rent-a-Girlfriends to do it feels like such a breath
It's
of fresh air.
Herculean.
Yeah, it's like it's approaching quality. But after like I'd say after episode 6, it kind of just returns to its usual, basically what season 1 was, but with less progress, except for with the exception of one episode after episode 6.
I know that this is going to be a little out of order, and I'm only doing this because we'll placate to the few Rent-a-Girlfriend fans who are actually watching this, expecting us to not tear into it viciously, which I don't know why the fuck you'd expect that, but I want to go over like the one, I think, moment that was unironically decent to, dare I say, even well written, and that is the final episode with Chizuru's backstory.
You know what? I'm with you there for the most part. What bothered me about that episode was that it felt so flatly directed. Season 2 is when I realized...
Well, the whole show is like not well directed.
Yeah, that's a problem with the whole show, but I was watching that and getting once again flashbacks to Sangatsu no Lion, being like, Sangatsu no Lion would have had the craziest visuals for this scene. It would have made me cry. It would have put me on the verge of tears. And then I'm looking at this show. I mean, yeah, it's on the whole season 2.
Yeah, it's sad, and for a fucking like normie who doesn't know any better, who thinks is like actually decent entertainment, I can see how it'd make them cry. And it is also, I will say, preceded by one of the nicer moments of genuinely wholesome moments of the entire show, where Kazuya is helping Sumi on a practice date, which is actually, a thinly veiled guise to have a, birthday date with Kazuya, because Sumi's now becoming the fourth girl getting into Kazuya, because he's just so attractive, and he gets all the bitches.
I couldn't hear you say Kazuya is attractive without laughing.
He quite literally gets the bitches wet, as we saw with Sumi at the water show. But there is this actually pretty nice, wholesome moment where where Sumi's like, "Hey, Kazuya, I can tell something's bothering you. So it's like it's my turn to be the wall that you confess all your feelings to. So just let it all out, bro." And he doesn't want her to think that he's talking about Chizuru, and this is the worst part about it. He says it in like the fucking most obvious shit possible, because Sumi's a friend of Kazuya, not Kazuya's, of Chizuru's. So when he's talking about Chizuru, he's referring to her as like, "Oh, I have this friend who is going through all of these things in her life that is the same exact things that Chizuru's going through, and I'm not even trying to mask it outside of just not name dropping her." But you can tell that Sumi like understands that he's talking about Chizuru, and he's lamenting that, "Oh, she's harboring all of this like grief, I know, and she's like being strong about it, and I want to help her, cope with it and help her out with her problems so she's not alone, but I don't know how to go about it, and it's frustrating me, and it's making me feel like even more isolated from her." And then Sumi, while he's crying, grabs his hand and starts crying with him, and is like, "I know exactly how you feel," and doesn't say that she knows he's talking about Chizuru, but you can tell through inference. And then he makes a note to saying, like, as they're holding hands while they're crying, like, for like the whole night while they're sitting alone in the park, he notes that for the first time in probably the series, he's like initiating in physical contact with a woman, and he's not getting any sort of like sexual tingle or gratification from it. He just feels like like mutual comfort in each other's company and like mutual understanding of their problems. And it's like the one time Kazuya does like a nice thing with a girl that's not like, oh, he has to save her life because it's like the right thing to do. He just does it because it's, a moment of like mutual weakness that they both share together.
I'm gonna go a step further and say that it might be a bit of a controversial take. Sumi is the best character in the entire show. Not even from a writing perspective, because Mami is more interesting, but what makes me like Sumi so much, because obviously she's a fun character. She interacts with the world in a fun way, and both of her episodes are easily the best of this entire season, except for like maybe the finale is arguably better written, but honestly, I liked the Sumi episodes more because they're like these oases. Is that how you say the plural for it? I don't know. Oases?
Probably.
I'm supposed to be a writer. But anyway, Sumi, like every single time she is like the focus of an episode, the show suddenly becomes good. Because
it's like that
Sumi-
meme of like the guy like suffering, like the stick figure guy suffering in like the total darkness of the void, and then the door opens up and the guy's like, oh my god, Sumi rent a girlfriend, hi.
it is.
As he like shines
And
the ray of
it's like-
sunshine.
Because Sumi is the only girl who I can like actually understand being in love with Kazuya. She's, a shy girl, and she's seen this guy lead her around and, teach her how to socialize. And every time Kazuya is with Sumi, he like all of a sudden isn't he still has some frustrating moments with Sumi, but like for the vast majority of the time, he is like just this confident, happy-go-lucky dude who seems a little boisterous.
He's
and a
like
little
the first
dorky,
person that he like genuinely opens up to,
Yeah.
or like reverts like his like casual fish loving self. Like the fact that he is like into marine biology is like his only unique character trait, or like bit of characterization that makes him the like slightest bit interesting. It's like it's like a grain of sand in the grand scheme of
I wouldn't
things.
say that's the only thing that makes him interesting, but it's one of the only endearing character traits he has, I should say.
Yeah,
There's
and when she takes him to the aquarium because she knows how much he likes that shit, and he like starts geeking out about marine biology trivia,
That
and she's
was
like
the most
genuinely
soul
like,
this
wow,
show
that's
has
awesome.
had ever. I felt a pulse there. I felt like for the first time in a while, like oh my lord, something like actually happy and fun is happening on screen in this show.
Can we turn back the clock and rewrite the show so that Sumi is the first girl that Kazuya rents out from
I'm
the
gonna go a step
rent-a-girlfriend thing?
further and say that I want Kazuya. I just want a rom-com about Kazuya and Sumi just going out on dates together. I could watch 12 episodes of that genuinely, because episode 11, I consider it the best episode of the entire show. Episode 11 of season 2, and granted, it's like partially because episode 10 was such a nightmare that the entirety of episode 11, and I mean the entire runtime, I felt this overwhelming sense of pure relief. Actual relief.
You didn't like it when Ruka forced herself onto Kazuya, but for real this time?
I have such an explosion of feelings about that scene.
I mean, we'll get to it. We still gotta talk about the Chizuru backstory. We gotta give him the sugar before we cram the vegetables down the audience's throat.
But it's like, just Sumi and Kazuya together are like, it's the only joyful dynamic of the show. Even Mami and Kazuya, like, Mami is part of this show's plot, and this show's plot is terrible. And so, even when Mami is on screen, you have to contend with the fact that that she is pushing this show's garbage-ass plot forward, and that is going on around her. But Sumi, so far, hasn't really done anything plot relevant. I mean, she's fallen in love with Kazuya. That's like the one plot
she
relevant thing
helped
she's done. And
Kazuya
also,
realize
yeah,
the movie thing, and
which is the only good plot point in the show. So there you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Um,
But yeah, it's like you just don't have to contend with the usual rent-a-girlfriends being rent-a-girlfriends when Sumi's on screen, and that's what makes her the best character. Because for a time, you can pretend you're watching a 7 out of 10 show.
um, she's definitely relative ray of sunshine compared to the in the bleak experience that is watching Rent a Girlfriend. She is like a glimmer of light in the darkness.
Which
is
is
still
more
not my
painful.
favorite character. That squarely belongs to Mami, but
Well, see, the other thing is Mami didn't do anything in this season, but we'll get to that.
yeah, she like compared to season 1 where she always moved the plot forward every time she was on screen. Now it seems she's like taking more. She shows up. She has her moments, but she's sitting more in the background now. She's like
Bowser sat in his castle and did nothing all season. Didn't even send a single Goomba out.
Yeah,
That's what happens.
she's playing the role of like the war general. She's like she's in her planning stage before she's in her like executing stage, which I think might happen in season 3.
Yeah, but before we get to all of that stuff, all its problems, Chizuru movie arc upcoming. People like that arc.
Yeah, I bet they do. It's probably because it's like I forget who said it in your server, but
Science more than likely.
he was going on about like, oh yeah, this is like the fan favorite thing that happens in Rent a Girlfriend. I'm like, I mean, yeah, I'm sure when you're surrounded by 3 out of 10 quality for like the entire runtime, something that maybe, I don't know, a 5 out of 10 might seem like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but and even that's being generous. I will be surprised if I give season 3 of Rent a Girlfriend a fucking 5 out of 10.
I regret to inform you that I am kind of excited for the movie arc. And granted, I'm excited about the show in general because it's awful and because I, for some reason, enjoy subjecting myself to this format.
It makes for good podcast content. Like, every second we're doing this podcast has made the 12-episode grind worth it.
Yeah.
But, like, while I was in the moment, there was definitely moments like, I felt like I was in the miasma of the void.
That. But, you know, I'm never, well, I shouldn't say never. I'm rarely bored while watching Rent a Girlfriend. There's always something that makes me want to explode in anger.
There were
maybe feel
moments that I had to
of
put it on
respite.
double speed.
I did not, I put 0 seconds and 0 milliseconds of this entire season on double speed.
You're
I'm
more of a
masochist.
trooper than I am, then.
No, I enjoy the pain. But like, the movie arc is the first time I've been sincerely excited for what happens. And granted, it's a small glimmer. Like, I'm not expecting Shakespeare over here. But I know it's the fan favorite arc, and for once the characters' motivations are something that I can actually, like, understand and relate to. Like, Chizuru wants to show her grandma a movie before she dies. Makes sense to me. Now, we've got like an urgent time frame, we gotta get it out, there's a chance of things going horribly wrong, medical complications. We've already established that Chizuru's grandma is like the last bit of family she has, and she needs to like show her family that she has gone forward and done all her acting biz. Her grandpa died before he could see it, so now she has to show her grandma in the nick of time. They've got to self-fund this movie. It all seems really fun. Obviously the execution will be probably questionable, but it's like conceptually incredible. The only reason I'm not more excited is because I know what we're contending with. I know what show this is.
Where does the blue streaked-haired, fang-having, master-calling little girl character fit into this equation?
I'm ready to hate her. She's a streamer and she calls Kazuya master. Those are 2 character traits that you shouldn't put on a character in Rent a Girlfriend.
But yeah, what they I don't know how they did it, but they did it. They, for the briefest moment of time, made me feel bad for Chizuru. It didn't last long because when they reverted back to, present Chizuru, I'm reminded of how fucking horrible of a person she is. But middle school Chizuru was kind of based.
I genuinely like middle school Chizuru. Like, I wish her actual character was like that. This hyper pragmatic, kind of cynical little kid. Obviously in present day she wouldn't be a kid, but just give her that same attitude. Just make her like this coldly rational, but also like kind of snarky character.
She would speak her mind frankly without any airs or like any like attempt to like act or cover it up. She would get into fights with bullies who pick on her for having no parents.
She's just infinitely better than the Chizuru we have in current. How is middle school Chizuru? How does she come off as more mature than college age Chizuru? That's my question. How does that compute?
Hack writing.
Precisely.
So, to make this point kind of brief because we don't need to like go over into all like the finer details. Inspired by her grandmother, Chizuru at first like a bit of a cynical, like not necessarily directionless, but doesn't really have an idea of what she wants to do in her life. She's more like, fuck it, I'll figure it out as I go along. Who cares? But then she like sees her grandmother in her old DVDs, and she's inspired by like how crazy different of a person she was as an actress compared to like how she knows her as her grandmother. She's like, how the fuck did you do that, Grandma? You're like a goddamn liar with how different a person you are. And she's like, all right, I wanna do that. She takes the Oshi Ko pill, the I Hoshino pill, and and she wants to embrace the lie. And so she's gonna take up acting, become an actress, and show her grandparents a movie, to make them proud. But then, tragedy strikes because of all the things I expected in the show. I did not expect Truck-kun out of nowhere with a steel chair coming in to kill her grandpa.
Another confession to make. I did kind of burst out laughing when I saw that out of nowhere. Not even because it was necessarily poorly handled in isolation, at least that I remember, but because it's so drastically different to everything this show stands for. It's like I was watching it, and then there's this voice in the back of my head. You're watching Rent-a-Girlfriend. You're watching Rent-a-Girlfriend. This is happening in Rent-a-Girlfriend. This is what this show has become. And I just burst out laughing because I was like, this is Rent-a-Girlfriend. Just repeat that over and over again. It's Rent-a-Girlfriend. It's how?
Yeah, I mean it's cliche, but I suppose it's effective for grandpa death. It just made it all the funnier to me just because of the meta that is anime. That Truck-kun just came in and he claimed another one, not even in an isekai. He just came around and he added another body to the count.
Grim Reaper got some competition, man. Truck-kun he's the true Grim Reaper.
Yeah, and so while he's on the operating table in the hospital on his deathbed, Chizuru in a pretty, it's a little cheesy, but it's like honestly like pretty well written. It's a little compelling. When
in a better
earlier
show,
in the story,
I would have taken it completely seriously.
Yeah, like earlier in the scene, or earlier in the flashback, Chizuru's grandpa's trying to connect with her, cynical granddaughter, and being like, well, she's like, oh, what the fuck do you need to make 100 shrine visits to the gods for, Grandpa? And he's like, well, just before I proposed to your, grandma, I ran up and down the shrine steps 100 times and prayed each time to the gods, just to make sure that I'd land the perfect woman, and I did, Chizuru, because the gods are listening, and if you work hard and you just pray, God is real, God exists, he will shoot do you a solid, and it'll make your dreams come true. And so when her grandpa's on death's door, she runs to that shrine, even though she was like, you're fucking full of shit, granddad. Runs up and down 100 times, praying, just out of like sheer desperation, because it's not looking good for Gramps. And she comes back, her feet are all like dirty and fucked up from running, she's out of breath. I'm sad that we didn't get one shot of like her tripping or like falling down like a set of the stairs and then her getting back up and running, because that would just been actually pretty kino.
The directing of that was actually the scene that I missed, or rather that I felt the lack of good directing in the most, because if this were like any other show from any other good director, it would have they would have made you feel the 100 like going up and going down 100 times. They would have made it so intense and so like, oh my god, like I feel right there in the moment. I feel her desperation and the struggle of going up and down these stairs 100 times.
But the directing made it feel like more like 10.
Yeah, they were like smooth fading into each other and like just going up and down a couple times, like sort of repeating shots. It was not.
She doesn't look that much
struggle.
More fatigued every time. She looks like the same level of fatigue.
My biggest complaint actually is that her feet weren't bleeding. She went up those stairs barefoot.
Right.
You see her feet when she walks into the hospital. There's no blood, even though it's stone stairs and she's running desperately. How does that even happen?
I don't know. Maybe she got that that rugged velvet skin. But then when she comes back and her grandpa has one last burst of life when she's like crying to be like, "Hey, grandpa, you said you wanted to see me on the big screen, right?" And then he's like, Chizuru, like, if you set dreams do come true, Chizuru. It's his last words before he passes away. It's a little cheesy, but it's for Rent a Girlfriend. It's like it might as for those standards, it might as well be Shakespeare. It's not actually Shakespeare, but
you say
relatively.
It's cheesy, but I actually like that does kind of work with the character of the grandpa of Chizuru, like sort of cynically looking at everything he says as cheesy. In a good show, I'd call it genius. In this show, I hesitate instinctually.
And so it makes sense that that's what inspires Chizuru to like be so resolute in her goal to become an actress, and it only like slightly justifies her decision to become a rental girlfriend, because she only does it for, at first it was for acting classes, because becoming an actress is not cheap, and then she's like, okay, this pays, like, because I'm preying on all these fucking like losers who will sacrifice their money for social female interaction. I'm making bank over here, and I can, by method acting and preying into their insecurities by playing the role of like the perfect girlfriend, I can get some acting experience on top of it. It's a win-win.
I feel like you're adding a little more to her rationale than she had.
Yeah, then the author is, but like if you take a step back and you think about it at all, like a not fucking retard, then yeah.
To be fair, Chizuru is brain dead.
Yeah, so she like after losing several positions on trying to star in a big production with an agency, she's like, what the fuck, Grandpa? You lied to me, you son of a bitch. How are my dreams supposed to come true now, huh? But then Kazuya, like coming down like an angel from the heavens, like bursts open through her door and being like, hey, Chizuru, have you heard of this website called Kickstarter?
He said exactly that. I'm just
and that sets the groundwork for season 3. They're gonna kickstart the Chizuru Mizuhara movie.
Yeah, it's like the most interesting motivation a character has had this entire show. Because everything else is just characters being like, I want Kazuya. No, I want Kazuya. No, I
I
him.
want to ride the dick. No, I want to ride the dick. It's time. It's
Okay.
time.
It's time, yeah.
you had your spoonful of sugar. Here come the fucking steamed broccolis. Here come the
Hell
fucking
yeah.
collard greens, motherfucker.
So here you go first, because I want to save all my anger for episode 10. You start with the first nightmare that you encountered on your journey with this show.
Well, first things first, the opening and ending took a big fucking downgrade.
I hate the OP of this show. Not even because it's necessarily a terrible song. It's boring. It's not good. I skipped it like 9 times out of 12.
I watched it once, and I was like, okay, nope, yeah, I've skipped it every episode after that.
I watched it the first time and was like, wow, this sucks. Okay, and the next episode came and I was like, okay, maybe I was a little too harsh on it. Then I watched it, then I was like, oh wow, it still sucks. And then I like started skipping it, but then a third time I was like, okay, I thought it sucked the first 2 times, but like I'm like just far away enough from my keyboard that I guess I'll sit this through. And then I watched it and I was like, wow, that sucked a third time.
The only thing that it has is like once again a coordinated TikTok dance between the 4 girls, but like it's lacking so much energy.
The first season, like the OP of the show was like so I guess electric feeling. Granted, it's partially the song because I really like the song, but
And like even
like,
well the song's obviously way more energetic than this one, but even the visuals and like the directing was way more kinetic and like
the
there's
one
a sensation
shot,
of motion.
yeah, the one shot or I guess sequence of shots of the characters like all staring into their phone camera and giving different expressions, like panning through it really quickly. That lives rent free, haha, in my head because it's got like so much movement and momentum, and it's like just feels so satisfying to watch
Now,
unfold.
now compare that to this one where they are like standing almost completely still and just doing like very slow hand motions, you know, bringing their hands up to their face slowly, making slow hearts with their hands. And it's like it's like for a trashy show like this, the first opening worked great because at least it would get you mildly excited to watch some trash. This one, just like, okay,
never
here we
skipped
go.
the OP of the first season. I skipped it almost every time in this one.
And then same thing with the ending. First of all, why the fuck? I hate when shows like this do this. This is just a broader point in general, but I hate it when shows where the cast clearly does not interact as much as the show lets on, and like are not actually friends, treat them like they're friends.
You went
There is
silent
no
there, bro.
universe where Mami and Ruka would ever like do this sort of shit together.
Yeah. Honestly, I watched the ED once. I
Yeah,
watched it a
same.
single time.
It's also lacking in energy. We've reduced it to a slideshow of just the girls doing different things.
It's basically just the Origairu ED in terms of visuals, characters in real life photos, which, to be fair, I do like mixed media aesthetic. This is slow and boring, and I don't like it.
Yeah, then it's a downgrade across the board. On a broader topic, the animation in the show itself, I feel like has also taken a bit of a downgrade. I remember there being slightly more moments of like motion in the first season. The quality of the artwork has more or less maintained throughout the second season, but I feel like there are barely any moments of like interesting animation cuts in the first season to begin with, but now it feels like they're even rarer.
It's a very good art with zero movement show.
It is very much a moving manga.
Yeah, and like this season, I need to get into this because I remember the first season having like bland directing, but not noticeably like I guess obnoxiously bad directing. there's this one directing thing in this season that makes me like want to punch tables, put a hole in my wall. This show is like constantly using flashback footage. It is like a persistent, constant thing.
Yeah.
And granted, the first season did too.
I suppose.
But this season I felt like did it so much more, where it's like every time the characters refer to an event that happened in the past, we have to take 5 seconds to look at the thing again and be like, oh wow, that's the thing that happened in the past. Thanks for reminding me, show. That totally didn't happen last episode.
The thing that finally got to me about the way the show is directed and just, I guess, written in general is I finally got fed up with a new facet of Kazuya. He is fucking incapable of reacting normally to anything. He always has to react to something with like a what, ga, eh? Like the fucking anime reactions.
He's kind of just a worse version of the standard hair. Well, I don't want to call him a standard harem protagonist because he does have like a personality and. Debatably,
he has a personality. It's
hang-ups.
just a fucking insufferable one.
Because, like, one of the things that annoys me about him so much is that, like, every time Chizuru is within like vision of him, he has to go on a monologue about how pretty she is. Thanks. I haven't seen that 10 other times in this show. You totally don't do it every time she walks in the frame. Then, like,
isn't it such an is it so endearing of your main character to constantly, gawk and talk about how fucking hot the girls around him are every time he interacts with them, and how it like doesn't make him come across as like a fucking douchebag?
I feel like this show takes place in like some alternate version of reality, because in the first season, it'd be like every single time these girls like walk anywhere at all the
someone in the background is like,
God
damn, look at that hottie!
Last season
every time!
I mean, last season it was every time. Granted, this season was like slightly less persistent with it. But it's
noticed it like every time.
Does this happen in real life? I don't think it does. I don't think they publicly... Time.
At least publicly, it does not. They do not say it out loud to their friends within earshot of the people they're talking about, or at the very least, they wait for them to like leave out of earshot to be like, "God damn, you see the fucking legs on that drumstick?" It's like
it feels like we're not even in reality. But then
we need to make the audience understand that the girls are hot, so that way they get attracted to them and want to buy the merch.
It's like the mere exposure effect making you fall in love with the girls by just constantly reiterating the fact that they are attractive, just over and over again to the audience. Yes, that'll work. But Kazuya's delusions are insufferable. Like, whenever he imagines the girls doing anything at all, it makes me want to just die.
Oh my god, okay. This is going to lead into a whole big tirade. Episode 2 of Season 2 is fucking horrible. I like, this is probably the worst episode of the entire show. Maybe
so this is your worst episode.
It's the one that got me the most mad because it was like one horrible fucking thing after another. So, like, I guess I'll go in order. So, episode 2 opens up with, like, Kazuya is talking to his manager at the karaoke bar of, being like, hey, boss, do you have any, like, relationship advice? And then, fucking, his manager's like, oh yeah, my wife was a flight attendant, so in order to get her attention, I just flew frequently all over the world to be around her, even to places I had no interest in going. And it's just like, no! Like, why do we live in this world of simps? You don't have to do that. You never thought to just like ask her one time instead of just like trying to be near her by dropping hundreds upon thousands of dollars on non-stop flights. You could just ask her, hey, do you want to maybe go out sometime after like talking to her a few times? Like, he pulls out his passport and he's got stamps like the whole, like, every fucking country on the planet. And it's just like, it makes me sad that this is essentially like future Kazuya. This is Kazuya from 20 years in the future.
See, I can imagine like a more intelligent show this being a genuinely funny bit, but for that to be the case, the main character would have to remark in his head, "Wow, what a loser." The show would have to acknowledge it.
Or at least have the guy be like, yeah, it was, like, in retrospect, it was really fucking cringe and embarrassing,
Give him
but
like
I guess...
this deadpan, dying expression,
yeah, Yeah, but no, he's, like, fucking proud of it. He shows it off with such, like, self-assuredness. It's like, yeah, that's how I landed my wife. I just like, spent so much money to be around her, instead of just, like, asking her out and then... like socializing with her together in a place that we're not like obligated to be in. It's stop making people think simping is okay. Yeah, like he even says that he landed her because of he did all that.
I'm looking through my notes for this episode because I don't remember it being as infuriating as you led on.
This is just one thing. It's compounding upon everything. This is just like this is what like got the ball rolling down the hill. So then after this, like this is after Kazuya in episode 1, where he also did something fucking cringe and stupid, publicly simps for Chizuru, and like I was fucking dying on the inside. Where after he sees her play and how good of an actor she was and how she like captured everyone's attention, and he was like, I'll rent you next week, I'll rent you the week after that, I'll rent you every week so you can fulfill your dream, I will personally fund your dream with my OnlyFans money. And it's just like, it's the combination of him doing that in public in front of all these people, and
that
like,
scene made me cringe so hard. I was full on like deep wincing.
And then fucking like both Chizuru and Ruka in the next episode have to like come at Kazuya with fucking facts and logic. With Chizuru being like, "Hey, Kazuya, renting me every week, like I appreciate the sentiment, I guess, but it's like very excessive, and that like and like that's not fair to my other clients." And then Ruka comes at like saying, "Hey, you don't need to be the only one renting her. She has other clients that can support her just fine. Also, why are you basically asking me to let you cheat on me?"
That conversation was actually the one that made me the most angry in this episode that I remember. Because, like, you're making out to be, like, a constant torrent of frustration. I actually didn't get that sensation. It was just this scene that, at least that I remember. Unless you unearth some traumatic memories that I've repressed. But the one where Ruka, Kazuya tells her to her face, like, just let me date Chizuru more. And I'm like, couldn't you just, like, if you really need to give her money to help her go through this thing, which you shouldn't do, by the way, but if you really need to, couldn't you just, like, donate to her PayPal or something? Give her $100 on PayPal.
It might breach the contracts of the rental girlfriend and client, Crunchy.
Just stop renting her. Just be her friend. Okay, side tangent. Just a real quick thing. The worst part of this show is that it insists on keeping the rent-a-girlfriend gimmick. If it would just admit that it's like a generic harem with just a bunch of college characters instead of high schoolers, it would be so much better. I mean, granted, it would be worse because it wouldn't be as much of a dumpster fire, but like the fact that the show needs to keep this gimmick going is the most frustrating part about it.
Yeah, like, the fact that Ruka should, like, if she had any, self-worth whatsoever, she would have fucking, like, smacked, Kazuya upside his head, being like, "No, you can't fucking cheat on me," and we're through.
I have so many words on that, but I'm gonna let you continue on this episode.
Yeah, and then for her to be like, "Fine, I'll let you continue to see Chizuru, only because I know that I've gotten farther and I'm like still gonna be your number one by the end." It's like, no! Don't do that! Don't fucking make that sound like it's an acceptable situation to be in.
Okay, you know
Have
what?
some goddamn self-respect.
You're harping on the topic, so I'm gonna just delve right in. Kazuya keeping Ruka at arm's length has to be one of the most frustrating things he's done as a character, and it's like a consistent thing. It's partially on Ruka
socially
for
irresponsible.
Being, like, so willing to be like trampled all over. But Kazuya, okay, let me put into perspective what Kazuya is doing, right? So Ruka at the beginning, yeah, she blackmails him. Not a great thing to do, but in her defense, Kazuya should have just let her tell everyone the truth. Would have gotten this show over with ages ago. Would have made him like a morally better person to have had this lie dispelled. But whatever.
We said in the last podcast that it would make the most sense for Kazuya and Ruka to end up together, and then like with season 2, it exemplifies it even more. Kazuya's the type of guy to like simp and like let a girl walk all over her, and Ruka is the type of girl who like allow that kind of behavior to like to happen to her as long as she was like the number one. They're perfect. They're a match made in heaven for how fucking awful people they are.
But the thing is, like, from that point forward, after, you know, they get together on like this trial basis, Kazuya does this thing that really irks me, where he's clearly in love with Chizuru. He only wants Chizuru. He is not in love with Ruka. He does not feel anything for Ruka other than maybe sexual attraction. But other than that, like, he has no romantic feelings for whatsoever. This is firmly established over and over again.
Yeah, he has sexual attraction to every girl he comes across, so Ruka's not special.
Yeah, she's not even special in that regard. But, no, at the beginning of this season is where it gets to be truly atrocious, because he's like making quasi-romantic progress with Chizuru, kinda. I mean, we'll get into it. It's gross and disgusting, and I hate the fact that she's the main girl of this show, but, you know, that's a whole nother topic. But the point is, he ain't into Ruka. But instead of, like, putting his foot down and saying, my guy, there's no hope for you, Ruka, he continues to, like, sort of halfway
lead her on!
Yeah, like, he's blatantly leading her on. And granted, like, Ruka does understand that he's in love with Chizuru. I don't even think Kazuya told her that, though. I think Ruka just kind of deduced it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, she has fucking eyes.
Yeah. But from that point forward, like, Kazuya just keeps on, like, placating her and saying, oh yeah, you're like my girlfriend, trial basis, whatever, haha. Won't just tell Ruka straight up to the face, I'm not in love with you. It's not happening. We've been trial dating for like months at this point. It's not gonna work out. Just stop. But he won't do that. And that's deeply frustrating.
It's like, at any point, like, I know, like, the answers because, oh, but he loves Chizuru. At any point, he could have, like, the perfect fucking girlfriend who, like, will cook for him, will hang out with him whenever he wants, and, you know, will actually, like, none of this is, like, particularly socially, you know, responsible, but also will have sex with him when he wants it, basically. So, for a piece of shit like him, he could not have hit the jackpot harder. She is, like, will become the most obedient domestic housewife possible. But, like, it's I suppose the fact that I'm harping on this is, like, maybe hypocritical because, like, oh, I thought you said you want him to become a better person. Why would are you...
You know what? I don't even think it is hypocritical, because the alternative is Chizuru, and that's even more socially irresponsible.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, that's why I'm on, you know, the Kazuya Ruka train, the Kazuruka. I don't know what the ship name is, but Rukazuya. There you go. That's a good one.
There's not even you know what? I'm betting there isn't even a ship name, because it's so obvious he won't get with her.
Well, yeah, obviously, but it's just frustrating, and also like it's fucked up for Ruka because like by doing this, he is cucking her from being like able to pursue a romantic relationship where her love is reciprocated. Like, she should know by now that Kazuya is never going to reciprocate her love, but she's like, no, if I keep trying, I will make you love me, Kazuya. I will become your number one, and it's sad. And like, I am sad for Ruka because Kazuya's keeping her all to herself when she could be out there single, ready to mingle with guys like me who would fucking treat her right and be like, hey, Ruka, I will make you feel special. Plat, 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 plat.
So this is why you had to go to your car.
Well, not just that, but going steering the ship back to episode 2. We'll touch on, more Ruka shit later. Like, even after Chizuru and Ruka come at Kazuya with facts and logic, and, like, he does tone it down a little bit, but he's still, like, he gets a little more, comfortable with, Chizuru as a rental girlfriend, and at this point, even straight up says to her, while on a date, like, hey, can you, like, be your usual self and not, like, put on your perfect girlfriend facade? The usual you is my ideal girl. How could she not know that he's into him?
In this episode's defense, because I was having the same thoughts that you were, but in this episode's defense, Kazuya monologues to himself at the, like, somewhere near the end of the episode, I'm pretty sure, where he's like, you know what, I'm pretty sure Chizuru knows I'm in love with her. And so maybe, I think the intention... But
then that makes, like, all of his, like, requests...
know.
All the weirder then, like the school uniform thing that happens later in the season. If she knows that he's into him, then she knows that he's trying to do some roleplay shit.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. It's important. This shows.
And then, and then she's like, after their date in episode 2 is done, she's like, hey, do you want to go somewhere? I'm off the clock now. There's somewhere I want to go. And, like, she takes Kazuya to the batting cages, and then says, like, oh, by the way, it's not a date. We're just hanging out. And I'm like, yeah, fucking sure, bitch. We all know at this point she wants the D, whether she knows it or not. And, I adore how, every time she swings the bat at the batting cages, the camera is the fucking... like, determined to put the frame, her thighs, from her flowing dress, flowing upwards from every motion, every rotating motion.
Oh god, I remember that.
Yeah, because it happens multiple times.
It just keeps on... I mean, to be fair, you could call it, let's say, a stroke of directing genius, because it's putting you in Kazuya's gaze. the Kazuya gaze, the worst
the Kazuya
gaze
male
to
gaze.
be stuck in.
And then, my favorite fucking moment of the entire show happens, where, Kazuya's like, hey, is it really okay for you to be, like, hanging out with a client, after work hours? And then Chizuru, in all of her brilliance, responds with this. I mean, it's not, like, knowing everything that he's done up until this point, including, like, stalking her, which she, like, knows that he's done. And all of the fucking weirdo sex shit that he's into. And like the one time where in episode 1 where he's like on top of her and like trying to cop a feel, like where she knows he was trying to do that to him. And then has the audacity to say, I mean, it's not like you're some weirdo or anything, right? No! Kill me! Let me die!
Nice impression. You captured at least 80% of his rage in that moment. BGEs.
I love how once again we go back to the flowing thigh dress shot after she asks him that. And then, later on in the fucking episode where they go to visit Chizuru's grandma in the hospital, with this line still fresh in my mind, Sayuri the grandma tells Kazuya, hey, you see, Kazuya, Chizuru has always been a needy girl. And his immediate thought from, like, Sayuri opening up about, Chizuru's emotional state and possible, emotional weakness.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, and possible weakness. His first immediate thought is to be like, ugh, needy? And then imagines her begging for sex. Like, fuck it, die.
Okay, now that you're unearthing this this memory, every time it happens, why are you like this, Kazuya? Why?
He's fucking irredeemably, like, a piece of shit. And, like, the only thing remotely, like, the only thing that sets him apart from other douchebags is that he's like a pathetic douchebag. Like, he's both like fucking horrible, like, to women, and also, but like so socially inept around them that he's incapable of like fucking like doing anything about it. Not to say that he'd be a better person for acting on his impulses, but the fact that he's unable to control himself, and we are supposed to take it as like oh, that goofy Kazuya, always thinking about fucking every girl that he's around his age. It's not endearing, it is obnoxious and infuriating.
This show is... Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go straight to episode 10, because I need to vent about this as much as you need to vent about episode 2. What's the fuck one? Okay. I'm looking at my notes. Yep. Alright. This is the one. So, episode 10, so some backstory. Chizuru and Ruka are at Kazuya's place. Or I guess his grandma's place, whatever. And the backstory is... fuck, what was it? Oh yeah, it's Kazuya's birthday, and his grandma wants to celebrate Chizuru's as well, because she's obsessed with Chizuru for no reason. Why specifically her? I don't know.
Because she's the only girl that Kazuya is able to bring back, because she knows that her grandson's got no fucking riz and is a fucking piece of shit.
Like, there's this idea throughout the show that I don't buy into, by the way, that his grandma specifically likes Chizuru instead of, like, any girl he'd bring home. And it's like...
But she's so hot, Crunchy! It's inconceivable that a fucking beta male loser like Kazuya could land such a smoking hot babe.
But would she really be upset if he switched over to Ruka? The show maintains that, oh, I can't be Ruka. I mean, we need to keep the lie going, because
I mean, maybe if it was Ruka first. It's definitely that she's as attached as she is because she's the first to her knowledge. But I guarantee you, if it were Ruka, she would be head over heels with Ruka.
Yeah, but then just switch over to Ruka. She'll get head over heels for her eventually.
She can't, though, because she's already had her sights set on Chizuru because she showed up first.
I don't buy into that. I know, I get the logic. I do not buy into it.
The logic is retarded.
Yeah. But anyway, so the episode begins with, you know... Actually, no, more context is required, because the Rukas essentially... like, basically go into this family birthday... Oh, God, I'm burping. Birthday party.
Inviting herself once again.
Honestly, based Ruka for this, because Kazuya, you know, the context is that, like, she would have left him alone, but Chizuru is gonna be there for their dumb lie, and Ruka's like, yeah, you know what? I've had enough. I'm snapping.
Yeah, under any other circumstance, this would be, like, the fucking worst thing for well, this would be an obnoxious trait to give a character, but in the name of the goal of getting Ruka to be the #1 girl for Kazuya, it is based.
Yeah, because like, I get her frustration completely. It's like he won't just dispel the lie already. Like, sure, Ruka's kind of in it already, but it's like, at the very least, Ruka in this episode takes active measures in order to get the family in a position where they can dispel the lie, which they should have done ages ago, and these active measures aren't even necessary. You just dispel it right on the spot, but whatever.
But she already tried that, and it didn't work.
Try again! Just put your foot down and tell Kazuya you're not gonna gaslight your family into making me out as a pathological liar. Which, by the way,
his does not get brought up at all this time.
Yeah. I was waiting for it to get brought up, but no, they're all over her. They're not, like, instantly thinking of everything she does as a lie. They're thinking, oh, she's just one cute girl, just one cute little girl. And the thing is, like, she's getting along with everyone really well. They all like her. They all think she's cool and based. And it's like, at this point, it's like, okay, they like her. Just say you broke up with Chizuru and say you're going out with Ruka now. I mean, is it that hard? They like her. They're not gonna be upset. Maybe momentarily, but they like Ruka. They like her. But, you know, that can't happen because plot.
Then we wouldn't have a show.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have a manga that we could milk for eternity.
But anyway, Chizuru comes over and, you know, it sucks. It's like, why do you need to be here? Ruka was making so much progress. So Ruka, you know, goes out to the bathroom and Kazuya's like, you know what? I need to use the bathroom too. And he goes to the bathroom and episode 21 ends and 22 begins with Ruka forcing herself on Kazuya and making out with him.
And it's like, damn, shawty, okay. She's getting all up in the tongue action. The kiss goes on.
Yeah, they like make extra sure to know that you like so that you see every single detail of it.
I feel like that's where all the animation budget went into the kiss.
You say all the animation budget went into that. It wasn't even animated well. Each individual frame looked good, but the animation wasn't like anything spectacular.
I mean, they when they got the close-ups into the tongue and the mouth and like making like showing
did put more
intricate
detail into that than most shots in the show, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like the one shot in this whole show that I thought was like genuinely well animated was the joke where also this is one of the only jokes that landed in the entire show.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're
missile.
talking about. Yeah, the grandmother's anger nuke hitting his house was like the one bit of directing that like actually had a pulse to it.
It was even funnier for me because I had it on double speed at that time, and the double speed made it funnier. Like the fast pace of the missile of her being like, wait, what did you say? And then just going fucking pew.
Each individual moment of this show is like, in terms of directing and the way it's presented, super slow and dragged out, especially with all the recapping. But we're getting a little sidetracked. The point is, Ruka's kissing Kazuya.
Ruka has, in fact, molested Kazuya.
In any other circumstance, I would probably be like, well, that's not exactly a good thing to do. You know, he had no way of expecting it. But in this case, I completely sympathize with Ruka's plight. Because this like, it's not a great thing to do, but Kazuya was asking for it, man. He dug his own grave and now he's sleeping in it. He has been leading this girl on for the entire season, and now he's finally getting what he should have expected at this point.
Crunch, you can't incriminate yourself like this. You'll never be trusted around women again. if you victim blame like that.
I am only victim blaming because it is Kazuya and because he is such an abhorrent. I hate him. I hate him so much. But yeah, so that happens, and this is where he finally, well, it's not quite at this scene, it's a few scenes later. Actually, but before we get to that scene, we get the stupidest, most moronic thing I have ever seen. So, in order to, like, heighten the amount that Kazuya's grandma likes Chizuru, she just decides to, like, the ring that Kazuya's grandpa gave his grandma to, like, propose to her, which was passed down to Kazuya's parents, is now getting passed down to Chizuru.
They're not even, like...
Where
even
do I
in this
even
fake,
begin?
Even in this
Where do
fake
I even
relationship,
begin?
They're both like, hey, we're not exactly thinking of a marriage just yet, Gran.
So to put this into context, Chizuru and Kazuya have been dating for a year, and maybe a little more. Who gives their... They're not even giving Kazuya the ring. They're trusting Chizuru with it. They're going, hey, Chizuru, this family heirloom, this important thing that has been passed down now 2 generations. Yeah, you can have it. You can just have it. And like, no pressure to marry or anything. Yeah, no pressure to stay in this relationship.
They don't even consider giving it, like, pulling Kazuya aside and being like, here, like, give this to, like, when you're ready. As like, if this were a smart show, Gran would have pulled Kazi aside when Chizuru was like, away, and he would have been like, hey, when the time is right, give this to Chizuru, and let her know that it was a birthday gift from us, and then and like have it,
I mean,
like,
the
it be
thing
implied that she
is-
wants him to marry her, like, one day.
I mean, even the birthday bit thing would have irked me a little, because it's like they haven't even been dating for 2 years. Like, come on, at least wait a few more years, my guy. But whatever, that happens, unfortunately. And so, oh god, so after this, Kazuya, like, finally realizes for a time that, hey, I've been leading Ruka on this entire time. You know, I've been kind of a
I've
dickwad to
turned her into a cuck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he finally realizes what he's doing to Ruka, and you could argue that this is like actual character growth. This is the one bit of character growth he has received in the show, that he realizes, oh, what I'm doing is bad. I did a bad thing there. I should stop doing the bad things and start doing the good things. But I just know that it's not going to change the way that he interacts with her. I have a feeling that the status quo of this show is going to remain unchanged for as long as possible. Just have a hunch in my gut. But you know what? If he does act on it, fair enough. That'd be like actual growth and a good thing. But anyway, that annoyed me because I just had a feeling that it wouldn't actually amount to anything. But then Chizuru gets a call from the hospital. You know, she steps out for a little bit, and, you know, she gets this call on the phone, and she walks back into the room blushing. She is blushing. Her face is pure red. She is, like, you know, all seemingly embarrassed. This is the face that you make when, like, someone walks in on you naked after taking a shower. This is not the face you make when you hear that your grandma went unconscious. And it was like
She's hyperventilating, Crunchy.
Like the disconnect of her pure red blushing face and her saying that her grandma went unconscious in this deathly serious tone. And like the sudden change from goofy rent-a-girlfriend hijinks to like, oh, my grandma's gonna die, made me burst out laughing.
We can't allow the
uncontrollably.
mascot hot girl to not look hot even when she's in a state of emotional crisis.
See, that's the worst part about it. Because, like, it'd be so much more powerful if we get, like, a Subaru ugly face of, like, oh my lord, something messed up is happening to me right now. Guys, like, she goes ghost pale, like, seems, like, almost sick. It's like, you know, that would convey as, like, actual worry. And, like, you know, it would... Because I like sudden tone changes in fiction. I think that when they're done well, they can be really jarring, but in a great way. But this is not the way to
with
do
anime
it.
tone shifts.
Yeah, that. I completely agree with that video. But what gets me is that, like, it's like, A, sudden, but B, the show does not like, the way it's portrayed does not justify it to me. It's like, you need to sell me on the anguish that Chizuru is feeling, that this is, like, actually something to take seriously. And the way you do that is not by having her blush. Who blushes when that happens? Who?
Maybe she was hyperventilating and the blood was pooling into her cheeks to compensate.
I mean,
I agree in the sense that they should have definitely gone with a more, like, scared expression instead of we want to make her look a little nervous and scared, but want to maintain how cute and hot she is.
Yeah, it's like it's a half measure. That's really the show wants to have its cake and eat it too. That's the main issue with it. So then, although before that, I actually skipped ahead a bit because there was another infuriating scene that I nearly forgot about until I just now remembered it and wanted to die. So Kazuya, he realizes, hey, I've been leading Ruka on. And so he's like, you know what? For Ruka's sake, I'm going to dispel the lie right here and now. And I knew he wouldn't.
He can't.
Yeah. But that doesn't make it not frustrating for progress to almost happen. To get so close to happening. We've almost got progress, guys. He's almost done the thing we've wanted
We're on
him
the
to
verge
do.
of greatness. We were this close.
And then phone-kun just rings and ends it all. And the thing is, there's like such a long lead into it. The show spends like a good minute just this was what made it obnoxious to me. Is that
It's an edging show.
yeah, but it's
the
because-
Microsoft Cum show.
because like obviously I knew it wasn't gonna happen. I knew that something was gonna happen that made it so like like he can't say it now. Someone's gonna interrupt it. Someone's gonna be like, you shouldn't do that, Kazuya. Hold on, I'm gonna keep the lie going again. That's obviously gonna happen. But even still, like to lead the audience on for an entire minute, why even have that? What's
It's
the
an
point?
edging show.
I want to
Push the show off the edge. Of
yeah.
a cliff.
This show is pushing me off the edge right now. And so like it's just so obnoxious. And then the phone rings. Kyon-kun denwa, Kazuya-kun denwa, there we go. Yeah, it's horrible. So we get Chizuru's grandma, who has woken up from going unconscious, and it's, we eventually learn that, hey, her grandma's dying. She don't have much time left on this earth. And it was admittedly very difficult to take serious in the moment, because I'm like, this is Rent-a-Girlfriend.
Yeah,
Every time something
at that
serious
point,
happens
the
in this
grandma
show-
became the most relatable character in the whole show because, like her, I wanted to be on death's door. I wanted to be close to death.
But what made me the most angry in this episode, or maybe not the most angry because, there is the part where it leads you on for an entire minute of like, oh, is he gonna say it? He isn't. But at least I knew that, that obviously they weren't gonna say it. But to make sure that Kazuya doesn't end up saying the lie, after the fact, because obviously he could just dispel the lie at any moment. Like he doesn't need to keep mum about it. But what it does to make sure that Kazuya never dispels the lie is to have Chizuru say, "But Kazuya, we can't tell my grandma. She's like super invested in our relationship, bro. I want to keep her happy until she dies." And
I
I'm
want
like,
her to live a lie until she dies because I'm a good person.
That was my thought exactly. Because if you're like a good moral person who looks at the world and has empathy and like thinks about things in a rational manner, you will come to realize that, hey, maybe it isn't good to let your dying grandma live a lie until the moment she passes. Maybe this is like more of a reason than ever to dispel the lie and to get with Ruka instead. But instead of that, instead of doing the moral thing, Kazuya's just like, yeah, sure, bro. And then Ruka's like, yeah, you can continue cucking me. I don't mind. If it's for Chizuru's grandma's sake, I'm gonna put a ceasefire. Please cuck me more, You'd think she was
Cuck
into
me
it.
harder, daddy.
At this point, I'm pretty sure she's just into it.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
And that is why episode 22 It sucked. Every moment of it was agony. I hated it.
Well, we've covered the ending and the beginning of this season a lot. But we might as well wrap up by just going through all the middle parts that we haven't gone over yet. We touched earlier on Mami not having much to do in this show, and she does not.
So let me quickly list out all the things that Mami does in this show. So in episode, I think it is 3.
Yeah.
At the end of episode 3, or no, throughout episode 3 rather, she like she's going to Kazuya's apartment. Mami was like, "Yo, bro, I want to talk to you," but you know, Kazuya and Chizuru are in there like, "Oh no, she can't see us. She'll know that I have a rental girlfriend." So they hide from her, and Mami sees a purse. She sees a purse, and she's like at first she doesn't register it, but on the way home, she's like, "Yo, wait, that was a woman's purse. He has a girl over. No, is it the rental? Is it another girl? Who knows?" So then Mami like goes over to his workplace, and Ruka's like, "Yo, Kazuya's ex,
You skipped over a one moment where Mami talks to Kazuya at college, and then spits some more straight facts and logic at Kazuya, being like, "Hey, listen, Kazuya, you only live once. You're losing out if you don't get a girlfriend for real. Spending your time on and money on the rental girlfriend business is a total waste." And she is supposed to be the only like malicious character in the show, yet there was not a single bit of like falsity in that sentence.
See, the reason why I didn't even remember it is because it doesn't change anything. Kazuya's just like, "Oh wow, someone told me how to fix all my problems? Cool. That's cool. Okay, bye.
Hang on, let me find the nearest wall real quick. Wham, 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 wham. Okay, I think I've inflicted enough self-induced head trauma to forget it.
Exactly. And so, Ruka is like, "Yo, bro, I don't like you. Kazuya's mine." And Mami's like, "Oh, so you're his girlfriend. Okay, man, sorry about that." She's like, "Oh, it was Ruka's purse." But hold on. It seems a little mature for Ruka. And then Chizuru gets on Mami's train. And Mami's like, "Oh, that's the purse."
And she like fucking Sherlock's the whole thing in her head.
And then, she and Chizuru have a brief conversation where, Mami's like clearly holding back and like, "Oh, I'm gonna mess these people up so bad." And then nothing happens with her again the entire season.
Mami follows Kazuya's grandma on Twitter, and I think is shown trying to like communicate and interact with her, and that like she's trying to set something into motion, but we don't see what yet, and I'm pretty sure we're just gonna see it in season 3.
So basically, the most interesting character in the show ain't here. Ain't doing anything.
Although I will be more forgiving because in the episode where Ruka chews out Mami for hanging around Kazuya despite being exes, they do show Mami in glasses, which is based.
Yeah, but
so all is forgiven as far as I'm concerned.
It's not forgiven on my end. Nothing is forgiven. Yeah, there's a lot of just nothing happening in this season.
I took more notes on how hot Ruka was than I did like actual events that happened in the narrative because there was so few.
Like there's stuff like, okay, so actually let's list out all the things that happen in the narrative real quick. Here's all the ones that I can remember off the top of my head. So in episode 1, it's established that like, hey, Ruka is like doing this play. She's like trying to progress her acting career. She does not progress her acting career. And there's like this attempt at an emotional moment, which by the way, the play that she like acts in and like from what we saw of it looks way more fun than the actual show.
I want to watch that anime.
I do too. That it
where
seems
where Chizuru is a fucking goofy ninja girl who dies.
Yeah, and she like throws a bunch of like the stars are like
shurikens.
Fish cake shurikens. And so Yeah, it almost seems like sort of like a Konosuba-esque character. I was kind of into it. I was like, oh, and she was doing good in the play, but she didn't get the part, and that's what really
Nepotism
matters.
strikes again.
Yeah, the girl who got the part was like in cahoots with the director. They had a history together, and so he chose her, and no one else had a chance. It went to show just how corrupt showbiz is. Yeah, we got Oshi no Ko up in here. But anyway, so that happens, and Kazuya and Chizuru like do some stuff together. There was, I mean, I guess Kazuya like gives her a pep talk. There's like marginal progress in their relationship. That's a bad thing. I don't want that to happen, but you know what? Fine, that is like a thing that happened, I guess. After that, nothing really happens for a while until Sumi falls in love with Kazuya. That's a thing that happens. And then after that, nothing happens again. And there's like some stuff with Mami. That happens. And then after that, God, like what even? Yeah, I think after that, the last thing that happens is the stuff with Chizuru's grandma and the backstory with all that. So there we go. That's
Crunchy. I can't believe you would leave out the plot relevance of the fetish roleplay school uniform date.
I don't think that had any relevance to anything at all.
It really didn't. Kazuya just wanted to be a fucking creep.
Yeah. This season is just fluff, and to be fair, like that is arguably a good thing. Like Ruka together, Ruka and Kazuya together under the same roof, like sure, it doesn't have any like actual narrative relevance, but it's at least like it's got cozy vibes, right? You know, it's the most friendly the two have felt the entire show. And, you know, like we don't have to deal with the plot of the show, which is bad. Like arguably the less plot that's going on, the better it is.
Just give me a show where Kazuya's banging Ruka 24/7. Just give me the hentai and I'll be fine.
Just give me the supercut of all the good Ruka moments, all the good Ruka frames. There we go.
Where she's kicking her legs up in the air, where she's got her bow off and she's in an oversized shirt with no pants.
Okay, messy hair Ruka. Messy hair Ruka.
Yes. I agree.
Messy hair Ruka.
There's a line like I have nothing left to say about like the show itself. I just have like a bunch of ancillary moments. Like Ruka just straight up says to Kazuya, "I won't let you feel lonely," and I could go on about like, "Holy shit, Kazuya, why don't you just fucking marry her already?" Or I could fucking bully the show for having Curry at the drinking party introduce himself to women by saying his favorite thing are porn stars areolas. But like. I hated that. I'm surprised the girls did not immediately get up and leave, but you know, whatever.
I mean, if this show were true to life, they would have.
Ruka tries to fuck Kazuya, but fails. She does kiss him on the cheek. I don't know. I feel like I have now exhausted everything. I've spent my anger, and now I'm just apathetic.
The thing is, I'm not apathetic. I enjoy the process of watching this show. I refuse to give it a good score, but I can safely say that I
you gave it a 6.
Yeah, that's not a good score. It's like a decent one.
That's on the positive end. That's to be fair,
more
it is good than it is bad.
End. Well, see, if I were rating it like a sane person, it'd be a 3. Let's be real. But it's something about it is like weirdly enrapturing. As like
do what I do then, adopt the negative scoring system.
I did see your -7 score for Arrow Manga Sensei.
Yeah, it's what it deserves.
To be fair, like yeah, -6. That is the official score. If there was a negative scoring system, I'd give it a -6.
Yeah, to me, this show, it's too self-serious for me to, or at least, like, yeah, it buys into its own bullshit too much for me to like laugh at it, where it's like,
I mean, the fact that it buys into it makes it even funnier to me
See,
that
it-
a show like this can
To-
exist.
yeah, but to me that makes it sad, because at least with Aromaga Sensei, like, I feel like anyone who like genuinely like believe that show is like anything to take any kind of like social acceptability or acceptance from is like already a fucking weirdo who's been bullied out of society, or like bullied into being like a shut-in. So social Darwinism has already taken place, so I can view it as an outside observer and be like, wow, this show is like really fucking bad and trashy and gets worse every episode. That's hilarious. This one feels like there's a genuine sect of people that are like relating to Kazuya and like thinking that some of this behavior is okay, and that makes me sad. That doesn't make me laugh. That makes me sad that they. If someone told me that they genuinely, unironically enjoyed Rent a Girlfriend with no hint of irony whatsoever, I would bully them. If I had a huge following of like 10,000+ followers on Twitter, like subscribers on YouTube or something, I would, and someone like in a reply to a tweet said that to me, I would quote tweet it and publicly ask my fans to harass this guy and bully him relentlessly
okay,
in the hopes that
agree
he
with
that I gatekeep him out of liking the show, because the net good that will come from that will be worth it. Any amount of bullying or like depression caused by it will be offset by the fact that there is one less Rent-A-Girlfriend fan in the world, which is a net positive in my book.
I feel like you're just gatekeeping them from your channel rather than the show.
Well, I wouldn't want a Rent-A-Girlfriend fan in my
I mean, fair
follower
enough.
feed anyway.
I mean, in my, like, theoretically, I wouldn't mind if people, like, okay, I mean theoretically in the sense of if the show was actually, like, competent and gave Kazuya a good arc, I wouldn't even necessarily, like, hate if people related to Kazuya, because at least the message of the show would be, hey guys, this is bad. Don't do the bad
don't be like
things.
this guy.
Here's the good
But the
things.
show
It's
is like, hey, hey, look at the shitty behavior that this guy is doing, and now he's got 4 girls vying for his dick.
It's like, it's trying at some level.
And all he
like,
had to do was
give
shill out like his
Kazuya-
entire personal savings.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the show theoretically has good messaging. It just botches it so horribly that it becomes, like, abhorrent messaging. Like, the worst messaging of any show.
It's sad, and I've never felt more vindicated in a fandom turning on a show before. Because when this show was out, people were like, "Ah, no, man, this show it's like fun." I remember seeing tweets of people like liking Kazuya and like relating to him, and now ever since that one manga chapter came out of him getting off to the idea of getting cucked while he was in the pool by like a guy fucking Chizuru, and he got hard from it, I feel like the show, like any amount of fans that this show or manga had has like turned coded en masse.
To be fair, I have never seen an audience turn on a show so quickly and so vehemently. It's satisfying. It's a good thing. It means that
I
there's still
feel
hope in the world.
vindicated.
I feel vindicated too, even if I do, on some level, enjoy watching the show. I hate it, don't get me wrong, it's the worst. But on some level, I do kind of get a kick out of it.
And in 3 months' time, we'll be back to talk about Season 3.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for the recording, I'm dreading the watching process.
I'm excited for both. I want to see if the show actually gets kind of good for a time, and then see how quickly it'll devolve again. Because it's inevitable. And, you know, I want to see the quote-unquote good part of Rent-A-Girlfriend, and see if it's actually just as garbage as before.
Can you imagine if we talked about this show, like, as it was airing, in the same manner that we talked about fucking Call of the Night, Made in Abyss Season 2, Licorice Recoil?
We would be Yeah, that would be so funny. That would have been hilarious.
Like, it's impossible. I can't imagine us watching like half a season of this and making a substantial podcast out of it.
I mean, it depends. How much are we screaming? How much pain are we in?
My voice kind of hurts from all the screaming I did earlier.
Well, there you go. Rent a Girlfriend is so bad it caused Neon physical pain. I presume your number score is a 3 out of 10 once again.
Yeah, it's remained pretty constant. Did some things better, did some things worse, balanced out. It's still a miserable experience that the thought of anyone enjoying it does bring me despair, so...
Well, hey, I guess I'm causing you despair.
Well, at least you're enjoying it ironically, and like you can
True.
recognize that it's awful. I'm saying anyone who like unironically enjoys it and relates to it.
That is bizarre to me. I am surprised that that subsect of people even exists in the first place.
And that is exactly why they stack no paper and they get no bitches. And if
Yeah,
you want to get some bitches, go ahead and like the video, head on down to the comments to let us know about how you enjoyed the podcast, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. Season 3 episode coming in 3 months. Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
I mean, I've pretty much exhausted all the things I care about with this show.
Yeah, we will be taking a 1-week vacation, because I gotta go to CEO 2023.
And I need to throw my life away for this Zarigoto video.
Yeah, so we'll be back in 2 weeks' time to talk about Oshi no Ko, talk about Jugokuraku, talk about Heavenly Delusion, and then we've got some exciting guests queued up for the summer 2023 seasonal podcast, so get excited for that. That's gonna do her for this episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I am in your walls.
And you'll see us next time.
No, really, I'm in your walls.